Hi, today I'm going to read you the story, Go to Sleep, Groundhog, and it is by Judy Cox, illustrated by Paul Measle. This is one of my favorite books. I love this story. Tell me if you make any connections to this story. Groundhog went to bed on Columbus Day, just like he always did. He brushed his teeth. He put on his jammies. He set his clock for February 2nd. Then he curled up in his warm, cozy bed. So cozy. He closed his eyes. He tossed and turned, but he couldn't get to sleep. Finally, he got out of bed and he peered at his clock. 1/2 past October. Groundhog poked his nose outside his burrow. The moon was full. "I'll just go for a little walk," he said. "Maybe that will make me sleepy." There he is, poking his little head out of his burrow. There's his mailbox. There's his little friend, Mouse. And the owl. Maybe he sees a snack. Groundhog went outside. He saw things he'd never seen before. Raggedy scarecrows and grinning jack-o'-lanterns, children dressed up like pirates, cowboys, and princesses. I remember doing something similar in October. Do you remember? Any connections? Halloween witch flew down. "What are you doing up?" she said. "It's almost winter. You should be in bed." Witch flew Groundhog home on her broomstick, and she tucked him in. She read him a ghost story. She gave him a glass of apple cider. What a friendly little witch. Groundhog curled up in his warm, cozy bed. He closed his eyes. He tossed and turned, but he couldn't get to sleep. Finally, he got out of bed. He peered at his clock. 1/2 past November. He poked his nose outside his burrow. The leaves were red and yellow. "I'll just go for a little walk," he said. "Maybe that'll make me sleepy." Do you remember a time when the leaves on the trees became red and yellow and orange? Groundhog went outside. He saw things he'd never seen before. Tall yellow corn stalks and round orange pumpkins. Turkeys gobbling in the barnyard. "What are you doing up?" Turkey said. "It's almost winter. You should be in bed, and I should be making myself scarce." What does scarce mean? Gobble, gobble, gobble. Turkey took Groundhog home. He tucked him in, and he read him a story about pilgrims. He gave him a slice of pumpkin pie. So kind of Turkey to give him a slice of pumpkin pie. Groundhog curled up in his warm, cozy bed. He closed his eyes. He tossed and he turned, but he couldn't get to sleep. Finally, he got out of bed. He peered at his clock. 1/2 past December. That word keeps coming up. Peered. What is he doing? He's looking. He's looking. Peered means looking. Groundhog poked his nose outside his burrow. Stars twinkled overhead. "I'll just go for a little walk," he said. "Maybe that will make me sleepy." Well, if it didn't make him sleepy before, let's see. Groundhog went outside. He saw things he'd never seen before. Colored lights glowing on some houses, candles shining in windows, holly wreaths hanging on doors. He heard sleigh bells chiming in the air. Wonder what that could be in December. Santa flew down in his sleigh. "What are you doing up?" Santa said. "Ho, ho, ho. It's winter. You should be in bed." Santa took Groundhog home in his sleigh, and he tucked him in. He read him a Christmas story. He gave him a glass of milk and a cookie. I'm already making a lot of connections here. Groundhog curled up in his warm, cozy bed. He closed his eyes. He didn't toss, he didn't turn, and soon he fell asleep. Bring! Groundhog opened one eye. "It can't be time to get up yet," he grumbled. "I just got to sleep." Has it ever happened to you? When you just fell asleep and all of a sudden it's time to wake up again? I do that every day. Bring! He peered at his clock. February 2nd. Groundhog yawned and stretched, and he tumbled out of his burrow. Snow glittered on the ground. The sun was out. The sky was blue. Oh, he had to climb up the stairs to get out of his burrow. Oh, look at the mouse. He's all trying to climb up the stairs. Groundhog saw his shadow. "What am I doing up?" he said. "There are 6 more weeks of winter coming. I should be in bed." What did he see? Yeah, he saw his shadow. That's a shadow. Did you ever see your shadow and get scared? He hurried back inside. He ate a bedtime snack. He read himself a bedtime story. Then he tucked himself into his warm, cozy bed. And he pulled up the covers, closed his eyes, and he went to sleep. Let's see. Groundhog Day is celebrated on February 2nd. According to tradition, on this day, the groundhog wakes from winter hibernation. What's hibernation? That's probably when an animal goes to sleep in the winter and wakes up in the spring. He leaves his underground den and peers outside. If the day is sunny, the groundhog sees his shadow and becomes frightened. He scurries back into his burrow, and we have 6 more weeks of winter. If the weather is cloudy and the groundhog does not see his shadow, he stays outside and spring begins. Spring is when the weather starts to get warmer. Of course, Groundhog wants to be out when the weather is warmer. He's probably hungry too. He's always trying to eat a snack. In the days before weather, satellites, and television, it was hard for farmers to know when the harsh winter was over so they could plant crops. So now we have the computer and we have the television and satellites that are up in space looking down at the earth, and that is how we can predict the weather. But before, there are many superstitions involving predicting the weather by animal behavior. In Europe, badgers, hedgehogs, and bears were used to forecast the coming of spring. When German settlers arrived in North America, they used the small furry groundhog, also known as a woodchuck. Because it wakes from hibernation in February and is easily observed in the eastern United States and Canada, groundhogs are rodents that belong to the marmot family. They live in underground burrows and hibernate in them from October to February. Their diet consists of tender green plants. They cannot really predict the weather. Can they? Can a groundhog predict the weather? We could make some predictions. When do you think spring is coming and winter is gonna go away? I love the spring because the sun comes out, the flowers start growing, the trees start getting green again. Did you make any connections to this story? I want to know.